All right, Carm. So could you please give us a little rundown of tonight's op?
Sure. So tonight we're running Operation Rook, which is a Russian attack against the U.S. defense. U.S. is actually taking up defense in the castle on the eastern side of the map, and they get to run supplies to and from their main base to support and build up their defense. Russians are going to be pushing that castle, and their objective is to eliminate the U.S. defense there. They do have a secondary objective, which is the Logi truck located in Delta 3. If they're able to retrieve that Logi truck successfully, they will be able to set up a mortar cop and mortar the fob in cohesion with their infantry assault.
So the plan that we have today is our lovely, glorious leader wants to put an amusement park on the castle. We're going to put a nice castle. We're going to call it Castle Land. It's very original, I know. These filthy Americans, they've decided that they want to put Castle Land there first. Them and their capitalism. They have already put an FOB down, and they're going to be building stuff around it. Our objective is, number one, to rescue our Logi that we carelessly, drunkenly left behind at the gas station, forgot to fill it up. We're going to bring it back, set some mortars up, and we're going to destroy their castle land so we can build our glorious Russian one. The way we're going to do this is, Squad 1, Shadow's Ritual, they're going to take 1 times MTLB. He's going to be driving it up towards US main, dismounting. His infantry will be clearing the north buildings north of the Logi. Tedish, Squad 2, and Best Pony, Squad 3 will be mounting up in the trans truck. They'll be driving the trans truck straight up the MSR towards Charlie, dismounting around Charlie, pulling into on the west side of the road. They know what they're doing. And then they have specific buildings that they're going to be clearing. Squad 4, Stormfront, they're going to be taking the last MTLB in our column, driving it up behind the trans, dismounting with Pony Squad and Pony and Tedish's squad. Going to leave the MTLB there, engine on, just waiting, and his infantry have their own building that they're going to go clear. Once we've secured 360 around the vehicle, that is when Pony Squad is going to be given the call. They're going to move their infantry in towards it. At that time, we're going to be bringing up Stormfront's MTLB. He's going to be driving it directly up to the gas station on the north side, covering it. We're going to drive the Logi down south. We're going to probably go off-road just to avoid enemy lats that we missed on the south road. And we're going to take the entire platoon back in the vehicles, and we're going to regroup north of Foxtrot. North of Foxtrot will be dropping in FOB on the mark, setting up 2 times mortars, and we're going to begin mortaring predetermined fire locations that I already have. I'm going to select 2 random people, whoever survives the plan, to be my mortarmen. Everyone else will be assaulting the castle. The way we're doing this is Pony and Tedish's squad are going to be pushing lower castle, Shadow squad will be pushing the bridge, and Stormfront squad will be pushing the rock wall. We're going to use MTLB support on the side from the village. And we're going to be using mortar cover to get us in there. Once we get in, we're going to dig up the enemy FOB, and we're going to just hold the castle, alright? Does anybody have any questions?
We get
Alright.
vehicle rearms this mission.
Negative. If we do rescue the Logi, we will be running Logi runs for the remainder of the op, as I will be mortaring anything that gets called out.
Nice.
Okay.
Alright.
That's the briefing.
Yeah, so as you can see, that first Logi is going to be really important, having to get 360 security around that Logi just to make sure it does not blow up as they retrieve it, and then setting up those mortars for that assault. Pretty cut and clear plan, I think, and it's going to be interesting to see if they're able to pull it off.
Simple and straightforward. I think this will also set the mood for the second round after this, because depending on how powerful the mortars are this round, it might completely change the mindset of the other, or this team's defensive play in the next round. They might say, screw the castle, or I mean, if you leave the castle, you'll lose the primary objective, but depending on how many, like, if the US fail to defend the Logi truck and the mortars kind of do the rest of the work, then I think that might send a clear message that they need to allocate more defenders to the gas station. But on the other hand, if they do that, the primary objective, which matters way more than essentially the secondary objective, is going to be more easily attainable and, an easier objective to capture. So it's a gamble, essentially. And I think the U.S. team that are playing the defenders for the first round are gonna essentially lose out on knowing the kind of effects of the different tactics. They're just gonna have to kind of gamble and see, you know, how it works out.
Yeah, very much so. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what kind of defense the U.S. Players choose to use this operation, whether it be an active defense and sending out troops to look for that Logi and look for that mortar cop that the Russians will be putting down, or if they decide to play a more passive defense and hold up in the angles and buildings that they have at the castle.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Shadow, you'll be taking the bridge.
So it looks like, is that a transport truck that I'm seeing on the U.S. team that they're loading up into?
Yeah, that could be the, or that might be the Logi that they're using to run supplies to and from.
That's interesting. They've already put 6 guys in it. It looks like they might use it for transportation, but only 6 are in it right now, so it seems like a fairly small amount to send away to defend the Logi truck. Can they destroy it, or is that against rules?
They can't destroy it until it's been manned, so the U.S. can't preemptively destroy the truck. They're simply watching the truck until Russians do make a play for it.
Okay.
So there's a certain ROE at play for this Logi truck.
Yeah, of course.
And we have a live time.
Great.
So we're going to be going live here in about 1 minute and 20 seconds here.
That must be Logi squad going to US main.
Oh, yes.
I think they're
that is the Logi squad.
They're running to get the Logi truck.
Yep, that's exactly what's happening right now. They just finished their brief and they're sending their troops over to get the Logis for when live begins. So yeah, that trans will not be put into use. It's just used for setup, and here they go, getting into their Logis.
So we're looking at 3 per truck.
Yep.
That's a hefty amount. To lose a truck, you'd also be losing 3 soldiers. I wonder what the plan is. Oh, what if they drop off a few soldiers by the Logi truck on their way back?
Yeah, we have seen them drop lat soldiers on their way to the castle.
Oh.
They'll drop a pair or 2 of
that's
light
a good
anti-tank
that's a good play on
riflemen.
rules, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
A good play on rules. Very clever. Very clever. I believe that might be something they're looking to do here, seeing as they allocated a lot of people to just do Logi runs. You don't need more than 1 per truck. So that's interesting. Okay, I believe a convoy is forming up on the Russian side of the map as well.
Yep, they're all mounted up. They got everyone in the MTLBs and the transport. This is a full trans, as you can see. So be pretty disastrous if this thing gets hit.
Oh.
But I think it should be all right. They're about to push their column out here in 1 second, and they're live. So here they go. We'll see how this plan to recover the Logi goes, and if they're able to do so without taking too much fire. This MTLB is pretty slippery with their tracks, and as you can tell, they're loud as all hell.
Okay, transport
So we
truck
can see.
splitting off from the...
Yep, they're doing their initial split here. And we'll see how this works. You know, dividing your platoon this early on could lead to a lot of flexibility. It could also lead to a lot of disaster if you get too far apart with your elements.
We were correct to assume that the US would be dropping off 4 guys near the Logi truck. We have 4 soldiers posted up in 2 different buildings.
Yeah, looking here, those are all... Oh, wait, no, there's 2 lat soldiers and 2 riflemen. So a total of 4 high explosive anti-tank rounds there for that logistical truck.
Interesting choice of buildings, though. They're kind of limited. One guy's got a pretty good spot in the top right corner of the building, covering the greater area, so to speak. But the other 3 are in a... I'd call it a questionable position. There's a lot of dead zones, so to speak, where they can't see, or blind spots where they can't see approaching Russian troops, like the big yellow building to their right of the ones that are on the rooftop. What do you reckon?
I think this is really... It's an interesting choice because they do have eyes on the truck. However, they are really exposed, as you said before. But they don't want to really get on that south side of that MSR simply because they know Russians will be sweeping through those buildings. And I think they want to put some kind of distance in between that Russian platoon and their chance at a lat shot.
Are we clear to engage if we see lodges?
Yes.
Copy.
So we can see this whole Russian platoon now dismounted.
On site.
Yep, moving in through the
And
buildings.
they're, yep, starting to clear those buildings.
Alright, Taylor, so what I'm
And a
doing
quick
for
look
this
at the
expo
U.S.
is,
castle. They have
basically,
two squads
all my
have
guys are
set
gonna
up
get out in
by
the transport,
preliminary
and then I'll
defense
get out
outside the
to
castle
the
perimeter to hold the nearby buildings.
Audible and enemy logistics trucks to the northeast.
Yeah, great job here by U.S. defenders spreading out and holding an active defense. They have a perimeter set about 100 meters. Oh, we have two Logi trucks, and they're going to get hit by that MTLB at the end of the road. Both escaped, though, around the corner.
That's a good
And,
save there. Good reactions.
Oh, yeah, but they are backed into a bad spot.
Oh,
There's no exit in this courtyard here.
maybe they could
Same thing with 3. Good.
get through one of the sort of torn down areas of the walls, but I don't know. It's looking pretty grim for them.
It's looking pretty grim for this.
Let me know,
this group of men over here.
how devastating would it be for the Americans to lose out on both Logi trucks this early on?
I mean, that's a lot of supplies that U.S. will not get to use for their defense. The MTLB is coming around the corner right here. It's going to end up popping both Logi trucks. So
it's a
U.S. only
buffet.
has 2,000. Only has 2,000 points to build with. This also means that they're going to be limited on mortar rounds.
Oh no, that's yeah. Support weapons are available to the U.S. from the start, right? So we're looking at HMGs and mortars, or what's the limit?
Yeah, HMGs and mortars. However, they need to be able to resupply that ammunition counter. And if they lose both these Logis, that's going to be it on their resupply. And they'll have a finite amount of supplies and ammunition to be working with.
This is already looking pretty bad for the defenders.
Yep, both those Logis getting popped right off the bat. And that's it for U.S. resupply.
Carm, should they have taken another route?
On foot.
I don't think they expected Russians to take that far left route, and that did end up buying them in the back. They could have taken that farther north route on the right side of my screen, where they could have snuck around the back of the MSR, but yeah, that's just unfortunate. It looks like those AT soldiers at the courtyard is actually getting engaged right now. The U.S. actually loses a troop.
Yeah, context, and it sounds like the yellow building and then the gray building.
Is that on
And they're
street
still-
level
Yeah,
or?
Yeah, he just got dropped on street level, and these Russians have spotted the U.S. lat team to the north.
Just get in those buildings.
So
make sure
that
they're
surprise
completely
attack
clear.
has already
Both those
been
buildings
exposed.
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't be looking at any MTLB casualties anytime soon, so to speak.
Yeah, and we can see Shadow Squad, which is that MTLB that caught the Logis. He's already corridoring off the western expanse, and he's pushing through the buildings on the north side of the street now. And if Russia takes their time, they're going to slowly make their way to these U.S. troops here in this building and clear them out.
Drive straight up the road towards me.
We have two separated soldiers still remaining in the area here outside the Logi truck, but I'm wondering, wouldn't it be best to make it back to base or to the castle, so to speak?
I think they're behind enemy lines right now. They're just trying to stay alive and let the heat die down a little bit. But yeah, they will, I would assume, be moving back to their larger force here momentarily. It does look like they're pulling up the MTLB here. They're going to try to make a play for the Logi. Russia's getting the vehicles ready to push onto the Logi, and we're going to see if they're able to take it without losing it.
They should know the whereabouts of the remaining AT soldiers, though. I think they spotted them in the top window, or they know at least that they're on the northeastern side of the Logi truck, so they should be able to cover it nicely. There's really nothing that should go wrong for the Russian team here in taking this. They've set themselves up pretty good for a successful capture of that Logi truck.
Yep, you can see Russian forces getting a little bit more aggressive here, pushing right up to the gas station. They're ready to make a play. U.S., however, being very patient in those buildings, and they're just keeping their heads down until I think they hear that Logi engine turn on. Oh, those northern Logi drivers are getting spotted, and they did trade fire with a couple Russians. Actually, he did manage to hit 2 of those Russians, but he's pretty trapped here now.
MTLB as well supporting the 2. Grenades are being thrown.
Oh, lat shot goes into the building.
Yeah.
Does not manage to kill the U.S. soldier.
Get this thing
And
out
his
of here.
secondary Logi driver is
I need that
trying to
white
come over here
clear.
to assist.
Squad, alright, split.
I support the idea of them remaining
Squad
behind
four, I
instead
want you
of
to building on the
retreating
north
back to the
side. I
castle
want you
because
clear
this
to
will
move
allow
on the
them to
left.
always
Head is just gonna come
force
copy
the
that.
Russians
He'll
to
be
keep an
covered.
eye on their back, and they'll
Copy.
just have a less organized attack on
Not my
the
MTLB,
Logi,
but
so to
whatever.
speak.
Yeah,
mine.
it's some form of harassment, which right now U.S. really needs since they're out of Logi supplies. Anything helps at this point. But it does look like they're going to pull back after facing off that MTLB. They don't want to chance it too hard. Russians, however, making a play across the road, running across that stretch. They're going to try to clear the remainder U.S. Forces out of these buildings. We're going to see if U.S. is able to make any good trades here.
We're looking at a
But Russians
potential
getting really aggressive.
very close quarter engagement here. One Russian facing his right side against the U.S. soldier. I don't think they're aware of
Here
each
we
other's
go.
position. It's about to get very close now. Oh, and the U.S. soldier's going to catch that Russian off guard. Good catch, and that sets the tone for the engagement.
Turn engine
Yeah,
on, turn
U.S.
MTLB
just
engine
has
on,
to
Swarm,
keep
turn
making
the
good
engine on,
engagements
then
here,
Pony
especially
cruises
with
and
those
gets
two
on
Logis
left.
down. They just got to keep taking what they can before Russia gets
Right,
to
get
the
that engine on.
to the actual castle and
Go,
forces
go,
a
go,
fight
go.
without that
On their
supplies.
toes, on their-
They're pulling at the Logi. Latch, they're gonna try to pop up. One hit on the one hit. I
Only
don't
one
think
line
he's
hit,
gonna
get
be able to
covered.
get a second hit.
What a save, but great shot by the lad soldier to get up there. And it, I mean,
Storm,
that's
get building to your
not the
left.
easiest of
Clear that
shots to get one below the
Absolutely,
roof
watch
without
everybody
hitting
else.
the ground. Also hitting just the
Pony, get off
the
road,
back
you
of
might have flats, sell us.
the Logi truck as it makes its way out. So that's I'm gonna go ahead and say that's a pretty good shot.
Yeah.
Are we going
For
further
the
at the beginning
situation
of the
there, given they did the
We're
best
getting
that they
the trans,
could,
we're
and
going to the trans.
you know, could have been a lot worse. But they got one hit on it, and they managed to take out a couple of Russian troops. However, you
Jack,
can
what
see
do you want my,
Russians now
MTLB?
pulling the rest of the platoon back. U.S.
I want
getting
you
caught
to
as they
back
try
to
to
MTLB.
retreat. They're
Getting out.
suppressing the corner here, trying to get out. That is a saw gunner right there, though, so he is going to be able to suppress that corner for a while. Grenade comes
Grenade
out,
Have it cover you.
falls a little short. And both teams now trying to withdraw from the crossroads.
That's a very safe tactical withdrawal there. Guns on, they're at the ready, so to speak. Looking to
Alright,
catch a
follow
Russian
the
off
rally
guard.
point. Everyone regroup at the rally
Gonna
point.
turn around and go for the nearest cover, which is the alleyway and the building.
Yep, Russia able to mount their entire platoon back up. They're now going to retreat back to their cop and set those mortars up and get ready for the next assault on the castle.
So they're abandoning this zone entirely. They're not going to continue the push down the street. They're going to attack it from a different angle.
My squad's gonna hold.
Yeah, they're gonna. It looks like they're going
everybody
to reinforce their south
Copy.
and then push from there as soon as they get the mortars up. Let's take a look at the U.S. defense, however. Looking at their resupply issue, you can see how barren the defenses are at the castle. They were barely able to get any kind of sandbags or Heskos up at this point. They have maybe one HMG, a couple sandbags spread out here and there. Two HMG bunkers, excuse me, one facing the south and one in the courtyard.
One
But
inside,
other than that,
one
yeah.
inside one of the I don't know what you want to call that, sort of a storage area.
Yeah.
So it covers the entrance, but it doesn't have any angle to shoot at troops engaging the actual castle from the outside. So that's a gamble too. You're gonna have to let them get in first before you can engage.
Yeah.
But
U.S. might be caught out of position here.
Yeah. So
My squad's
I
gonna
reckon that
hold
I suppose it
here
could have
to,
been a wise
prepare
thing
to
to
move
run
since we're moving up from the west.
the
Logi
Logis
dumps.
back to base in different routes or taking different ways, so to speak, to get there, because running both after each other like that is you're gonna lose both.
Yeah,
if
they
you run
put all
into
their
trouble.
eggs in one basket, and it just did not work out for them. Russians now setting up their fob, as you can see. They're going to get that mortar down, and they're going to start shelling the U.S., and it's going to be a pretty relentless barrage of mortars. U.S. troops, as we can see on the map right here, they're not ready for a southern push. They're ready for a northwest and a west push with Squad 1 and Squad 2 for U.S. on those flanks. But that southern area is actually pretty barren and will let Russia get a lot of fire superiority, especially with their two MTLBs and their mortars on that south flank. U.S. needs to respond now to the shift in Russia's direction in order to get a proper defense going. Otherwise, this can end up really bad.
A counterattack isn't entirely out of the question, so to speak. It's something, of course, that they could
I need
choose
somebody,
to do.
someone
But
send me someone who's
right
got
now,
mortars.
I
Need
think
2
it'd
people
be
back here for good mortars.
too much of a stretch to
what's
send out
bothered.
a squad or two to counterattack at this range. The mortar is simply too far away.
It's possible for them to
Probably
send
squad
a
3, honestly,
sneaky
'cause,
fire team or something like that to, you know,
more people
eliminate
doesn't
the
really help
fob,
get
but
back there.
it's unlikely. The distances here is about maybe 600
Yeah,
kilometers
get
from the
some people.
closest U.S. element, so they
Mhm.
are pretty far away. So we'll see if U.S. decides to get bold and counterattack this south position. But as of right now, it looks like they're still unaware of the Russian switch to the
Alright, I
south
got
flank.
one. I've
Well,
got
the Russians do avoid the nasty close quarter engagement by attacking from the south. They're not going to have to
Lasers
clear out any buildings to get to the castle. They can walk straight in, essentially. Obviously, they have the open ground to cross, but they're going to avoid all the close quarter indoor
Alright,
fighting,
we're gonna start dropping
which
mortars on
they
them.
would
Yeah.
which they would have to go through if they attacked from the west.
There is a nice U.S. HMG bunker here
Alright,
on the
Jack,
south,
got a
however,
second.
and that
He's not
might
particularly
prove to be the
enthusiastic
one
about
thing
it,
that
but
stops the
he's,
entire Russian assault. If they can get their
Copy, give him
MTLBs to
lodge.
target and suppress this HMG, they might have a
He's coming
better
back.
chance, but this gun right now has a great view of the entire south assault.
Looking at it from the Russian point of view, it's somewhat hidden as well. It kind of blends in nicely.
I'm gonna see if
It
I
could
can get
catch
eyes on
a
the
squad
castle,
off guard,
see what
definitely.
they got poking at us.
It comes down to the gunner and his ability to put rounds on target accurately. But it's not all over yet, despite a very bad start for the U.S.
Alright.
team.
Fire mission 1 outgoing.
And the first
Should
set of
we
mortars
move
are
up,
now
Jack, or are we
outbound.
sitting here on this berm for now?
Negative. Just get yourself set. We're gonna wait for Shadow to get up and get close as well. I want all my infantry
Copy.
just ready to go. Hold that town. Do not cross that open yet.
U.S. needs to make that shift. This is going to be really brutal if they do not occupy the southern buildings on that west flank. Squad 2 is in position to make that move, but he needs to get in those buildings. That building complex on the west of the compound has a lot of sightlines that can completely cut the Russian assault in a crossfire.
Copy.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
It
they
covers the
definitely have
entire
machine guns
like
that are
southern wall running along the water
Yeah.
there. So that'd be a good building to occupy.
yeah,
You're talking
yeah,
about the
yeah,
building
yeah.
that's kind of facing the corner of the
That
one of
machine gun
the
location
castle.
is
Yeah,
left
it's
edge
kind of
at that
slanted
ground
from the
building.
rest
Yeah.
of the apartment
Box
buildings.
484,
There's
so
about
it's like
3 or
box
4 good
44
buildings there that
minus
U.S.,
5,
if they were to
4.
garrison, can
Yeah,
completely
that's
shred the
detonated 4 is
Russian
a
assault
good
from the
hit.
side.
Exactly.
Incoming mortars here, they're on target. However, a lot of the
Box
U.S.
4 is
troops
precisely
are
correct.
indoors. The issue is that if the HMG gets targeted by the mortars, it will be rendered
He's scanning
ineffective
right now.
or
He's looking for
useless.
some
So
PLBs.
that could be a counter to this HMG in the south.
We see the remains of the Logi squad and the defenders back by the former location of the Russian Logi truck have started making their way back to the castle now. They're not really anticipating an attack from the west. So it's weird, though, that the U.S. commander hasn't decided to shift his forces to the south, because I think too much time has been
3
spilled
mortars out
since
on
the
M2
capture
now.
of the Logi.
M2
And why would the Russians attack from the west? Granted, because, like, look at the situation. That'd be a nightmare to clear out all those buildings. You'd want to attack the castle head-on now that you've got mortar support. So, I'd expect a sort of allocation of more U.S. troops to the south, but so far they're pretty content with their positions, expecting an attack from the west, I suppose.
It does look like U.S. has spotted the enemy in there, trying to suppress and slow down the advance. However, mortars are getting zeroed onto this HMG. The longer that they go, the worse it's going to get. However, the first Russian squad leader has gone down to that HMG fire. That HMG, extremely accurate at that range, takes out a Russian squad leader. So I mean, that's a pretty big blow to the Russians right now.
Damn. Close rounds, but he's safe. I was thinking about the soldiers outside. One guy running for the bunker right now. He's nuts, man. Those rounds are going to be dropping right on him. Oh, that's close.
Yeah, these mortars really trying to hit this HMG. But this HMG's in a really nice spot. It's on the lip of the
Somebody tell me the mortars are looking
compound where anything bar a direct hit is going to miss. It's in a really hard place to hit with the mortars. So, yeah, I mean, that's a great place for the HMG bunker, I gotta say. Because unless it lands on top, it's not gonna hit it.
I reckon shrapnel could knock him out, though, if it lands on the small corridor behind it.
Yeah, but even that is Low chance. See, like it's elevated. It's in like a weird lip. So all the lower shots are not gonna splash on him, and if it hits the roof above him, it's not gonna hit either. That was close.
Russian mortars are determined to get him, though. They're not gonna let go of it. They're gonna go hard on him.
He is adamant.
He's out of it. Yep.
Yeah, he's not leaving that bunker. He is not going anywhere. So I gotta applaud that tenacity right there.
Oh, they're shifting fire now to the west, or to the, yeah, indeed, to the west.
Yeah, it looks like Russia has pulled up one of the MTLBs, and they're starting to engage the U.S. on the...
Realistically, an MTLB will beat a 50 cal, like, in an instance, because the firepower is equal, but the soldier has essentially got no protection, really. I mean, he's got the sandbags, the barricade, but that's about it. If he takes a hit, he's down. One shot. And I wonder why if they know where he's at, the MTLB could go for a sneaky peek, I feel like, if they get the shot off first. Remember, they have optics in the MTLB. The 50 cal gunner does not. He might not even be able to spot the MTLB since it's kind of hidden away behind trees.
Yeah, it's pretty far away. So I'm noticing two things right here. Number one, US is reacting properly. They are shifting more elements down on the west-southwest side of the castle, taking up in those compounds. However, Russia is making zero movement. The longer Russia waits, the more movement US can execute in order to, shore up their defense from the south. So Russia really needs to, pick up the pressure, pick up the momentum, because right now US is properly adjusting to the pressure on their south.
I think that 50 cal scares him, to be honest. He doesn't want to take any chances. But also the U.S. don't want to allocate too many troops to the inside of the castle. It limits their ability to maintain a good combat with, so to speak. So we're looking at about 1.5 squads in the castle area, and then we have one squad that shifted to the north that is actually covering the most northern approach, which you cannot even use. So I'm not entirely sure what they're covering up behind the castle, so to speak.
It does look like that MTLB and the HMG are trading shots. Once again, we talked about how that MTLB has the optics, so it does have the initiative here. So he's going to get suppressed out of that bunker. U.S. really needs to focus on that south defense. They need to shift more players over here into the apartment buildings. He has pulled his troops off from the north, but he does really need to start focusing on these apartment buildings.
Now, it's easy to be clever with the facts in hand, but it'd be nice to see a roaming squad, which he still has outside the castle, to do some damage moving south through the apartment buildings, and essentially using the terrain, the walls, the trees, and the infantry mobility to knock out those MTLBs, because right now, there's nothing really challenging them. AT rockets at this range are going to be very ineffective, mostly because of the lack of being able to get a good shot in on them from the castle. So they don't have much. Right now the MTLBs win against everything the US have inside the castle. Their only play piece right here is the squads they have outside the perimeter. So right now they could turn it to their advantage. You have a strong point, which is the castle in the middle, and you use two squads on both of its flanks to maneuver forward and catch the Americans, or sorry, the Russians, the attacking force in this case, in between a rock and a hard place, so to speak. And that could really weaken them before they essentially commit to the assault on the castle itself. Right now, they're not weakening the Russians, as they're already doing damage to the castle defenders.
Yeah, there's a lot of cover here for the U.S. and U.S. I don't think have taken any casualties in the castle itself. They still need to. I still think. All right, here we go. There's some movement here on the west now. They are pushing further along these southern buildings. And they really. Oh,
look at that Russian infantry
trading fire on the right.
Russian infantry
and here
taking
comes
fire.
The charge. Yeah, Russian infantry now making a play for the castle. This is where they have fire superiority on the south.
Yeah, and this is where that American squad that's located in the small sort of bunker area across the road on the north side, this is the moment where they're going to come in, because they're going to be able to hit the squad that's moving to the northeast of the sort of the outer village there, where the Russians have staged their attack from. So we see tracers coming in from that side as well. I thought they were going to be rendered useless because it's in a weird angle, but they're actually being put to use right now.
Yeah, we can see those infantrymen for the U.S. on the left engaging in that crossfire, and that's going to prove to be a very big issue for the Russians right now.
Oh, that's a good
very
rocket.
big issue. That
Look
U.S.
at the
infantry
fire.
getting bold, getting back on that gun. Mortar's still coming in. The MTLB is pushing up with the infantry. But you can see Russians are not paying attention to their left flank. That squad in those left apartment buildings really being a thorn in the Russian side. Russian is completely unaware of this secondary defense position, and U.S. is having a field day attacking from that flank.
They're pinning the Russian soldiers behind the walls as well, so they're slowing them down heavily on the left side there, as you were saying. And they're kind of easy targets, to be honest, in the open.
Yeah, there needs to be
easy
more
pickings.
smoke.
And the MTLBs need to play a bigger role right here. They've suppressed the enemy HMG. And once again, any AT weapons fired at the MTLBs from this range have missed, if any have been fired. So I would use them more dramatically, more of an impactful, play more impactful role, so to speak.
Yeah, and this is just a huge assault. You can see fire all across the line from the left to the right. That northern bunker that U.S. has taken up position at is actually being quite a nuisance for this right side push on the Russians.
I'm spotting 2
Mortar's still
casualties
coming
there.
in. Yeah, there's
Or
a couple
one.
casualties up at
Yeah.
that bunker because of the MTLB just engaging with its optics. These MTLBs just trying to throw suppressing fire out so that their infantry can push. Russians are making some ground, but you can see that those left side apartment buildings really slowing them down. There's great enfilade fire from that left, and they're just catching the Russians in a bad spot.
We have one squad that's very close to the castle right now, one of the entrances. And the squad on the left side is now receiving MTLB support. And look at the amount of smokes that they have deployed there to cover their advance. That is among the bigger smoke covers I've seen in squad, actually. That's pretty much every squad member throwing all their smoke grenades. Oh, MTLB hit.
Oh yeah, MTLB did take a lat hit right there.
Ooh. Close. Very
Second one
close.
barely misses. But the MTLB is going to get scared and pull back. Russians getting bogged down really a lot right now. Only a couple players pushing up to the castle itself. They need to get off those rocks and close with and engage the enemy right now, because the longer they sit out here, the longer that western squad for US is going to have great targets.
Russian player Han Solo is about to enter. What a stormtrooper leading the charge far ahead of his troops, and
And he gets taken out.
also one
US
bullet,
soldiers
a
locking her
bullet
down.
to the head will end anyone. The bullets do not discriminate. Oh,
Yep.
that MTLB drifting though, about to make some progress here, about to enter. This is the kind of use I was talking about. You know, if they don't expect you to do it, because they're not going to prepare a counter for it. That's exactly how it works. But
Yeah, that mobile
maybe
cover.
that
They're
50
pushing up
will
right
be-
now. Oh, 50's going to be engaging the NSB. Oh, lat shot goes out. That's a lot of... Oh, it pops that one gunner, gets out just in time.
Oh, driver's out too, which is the squad lead, I do believe. Of that squad, he's out
And
too.
Russian infantry now making their push onto the compound itself. Mortar still coming in for Russia. Oh god, you can see that northern bunker, however, has they're funneling these Russians really hard.
Yeah,
because
they're
that
getting
northern bunker really coming into play here, locking the entire eastern side of the castle down. Russians cannot use that middle ground. They have to go underneath the bridge to get any kind of sightlines, and Russia right now kind of running out of options. They have to push in. A good amount of them have survived the initial charge, but now it's going to come down to proper breaching and aggression here on the actual compound.
This is some Helm's Deep shit right here, man. What an amazing round so far. And also, I'm very happy to see that the Russians took a minimal amount of casualties actually getting to the castle. So we're about to
Yeah,
see
it's
some...
actually really surprising.
Yeah, I
how
thought
little
it's going to be
casualties they took.
way worse. Look at the wall climbers there on the right side. They're about to go full Spetsnaz and enter the castle through
Oh
the
no, that
slim
bunker sees them.
walkway.
They cannot push that. The bunker is engaging them. Like I said, that bunker is locking down the entire eastern side.
Oh, we got a stormtrooper moving for it though, leading the charge. Oh, he's about to go wall to wall with an American soldier. That's gonna end pretty badly for him. Squad lead right behind. U.S. soldier relocating. This is one of the more interesting plays I have ever seen, Karm. I gotta be honest with you.
Yeah, US in a really good spot here, though. They've got the Russians covered on all flanks, and it's just going to be really hard. That team underneath the bridge needs to move fast and eliminate that northern bunker position for the rest of the Russian platoon to gain ground on this side. If they gotta move fast, and that's what it looks like they're doing. They're trying to eliminate this bunker.
Look at the
We'll see how
Russian
fast they can do this.
Russian squad lead making it across. He got up and he's about to enter the castle. The first Russian has made it into the castle. He's wall to wall with another soldier covering that 50 cal. He's
got a
right behind
bandage.
it. Oh, he's gonna be. Is he been heard? No. The
Oh
American.
my god, he doesn't hear the bandage. That is insane.
Get your gun out, Russian. It's time.
Oh my
to
god,
get
he's gonna try to
serious.
get
He load.
Oh my god.
He's in the 50. He's in the 50.
Oh, he goes down. That could have been really epic, but he did not clear the side around the bunker. These Russians, however, pushing up onto the northern bunker here.
Great play. He wounded one soldier, but it's not going to be enough to bring him down. See, that was a good play. I'm going to have to commend him on that. That was some very Spetsnaz stuff. Okay, we got the assault on the south side, kind of halted up a little bit with that destroyed MTLB. Rockets being
This
fired.
northern flank getting pretty destroyed, but it is doing its job of distracting the U.S. troops.
I've completely missed that. You're right. That's turning into a different battle in
Oh.
itself.
Some good trades for Russia up here.
I think the U.S. have more manpower there and better ground, so I don't see
Yeah.
the Russians succeeding that assault. We have one combat active soldier over there, and he's about to... well, he's essentially going up against two, as the rest seem to be moving back to kind of enter the castle through the main entrance. MTLB engaging from the west side inside the city now, but it's surrounded by U.S. forces in the buildings nearby, and they're going to make a quick move here to try and get it. That's an interesting play. This guy is going pretty wild with the MTLB.
Russians still trying to figure out how they're trying to get in the south side. The
Rocket.
HMG and two soldiers
MTLB
walking
hit.
down this flank.
Didn't mean to interrupt you there. And the second MTLB is down outside the northwestern approach to the castle. So that is a good job on the U.S. They worked it out despite the lack of fire support.
And that Russian northern flanking squad has been completely destroyed now. 100% casualties. All that's left of the Russian assault are these players here on the south, but they're still trying to breach. They've been stuck on this corner for the better part of 5-10 minutes here. They need to start figuring out how they're going to get inside.
An efficient 8-player squad can do a lot of damage, especially when the U.S. team is this spread out. But the longer they take, the sooner the U.S. are going to realize, hey, we have them all cornered. And then we're going to have people arriving from the northern flank, and we're going to have people coming in from the western flank. So they have to act now, or it's going to be too late.
I think that HMG, I think the US, like we talked about before, because they have no logi supplies, I think they're out of ammo on their HMGs. That HMG in the south has been dismounted, and now Russia needs to push in with these smokes. This is the only breaching opportunity they're going to get with these smokes, and that HMG unmanned. They need to take advantage of this pressure.
Well, it's top HMG manned, but there's no Russians in sight. It's not going to be able to do any damage. Oh, there's two Russians coming in the main road. If he spots them behind the tree, that could be pretty bad. Oh, he's looking. He's looking. Oh, he doesn't see them. There's two right behind that big rock in front of him, or the wall piece. But he can't see him through the smoke. Oh, he spots them. No, he does not. In the mind of the HMG soldier. Not entirely sure.
Russia needs to pick up the pressure. I don't know who's in charge down here, but they need to be pushing these guys. Without any kind of pressure, they're not going to get anything done down here.
We got a sightseeing tour going on the west side.
Yeah, it looks like Russians counter-patrolling around, trying to get some kind of understanding of what's going on over there.
50 opening up. Yep, it
Oh,
spotted
50
the two
opens up
Russians.
on those two Russians.
They're going to be hauling ass back to the car. Well, at least you'll die behind a Mercedes.
Where is he?
These Russians here playing it way, way too safe.
This is new model. All right. They're discussing the situation they're in there in local comms. It's always interesting to tune in to the soldiers talking. Yeah, he can see you, my friends. More
The
grenades
longer
being
they
thrown.
wait, the worse it's gonna get. Oh,
Car-
that Russian bleeds out.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Ooh, good shot on the HMG soldier. He's gonna fumble and tumble around and die. I think that's gonna deter other people from manning that gun. It is still very exposed in a situation like this. It's not a hidden spot anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I gotta say, Karm, I'm very happy the Russians committed to approaching the eastern side of the castle by the wall and kind of climbing the side of it. I think that was a tremendously funny play. Like it was.
Yeah,
it could have worked.
Us quite a match to watch right there.
Could have worked.
More grenades coming out, and like I said, the longer these Russians stay here, the worse it's gonna get. U.S. is gonna be able to maneuver their troops around again, and knowing that they aren't moving at all, they're going to have all the initiative they need to finish up the Russians here.
We still have a very, sturdy set of... Oh, they're going to actually cross the road. Scratch that. I was going to say they have a pretty good amount of men on the northern approach there, covering like the entire northern side of the castle, but they're going to allocate 3 men out of the 6 they had up there into the castle itself to defend the fob located inside. They've abandoned the buildings to the west entirely. After destroying the MTLB, they realized it's no longer a threat. And I think they're starting to grasp the situation now. All the Russian threat and forces are coming from the south now. They just don't know how many.
Yeah, Russians actually splitting up into 3 buddy teams, 2 on the south, 2 on the east, and it looks like 2 are sweeping around on the north. However, like you said before, U.S. has recalled all of their outside protection and active defense. They're now going to be holding up and strongpointing the castle itself with the remainder of their troops. It looks like Russia's outnumbered here 3-1 about.
I gotta hand it to them. At the start, it looked really bad, but now towards the latter parts, I can see a sense of professionalism here. They've really handled this well. They've knocked out the MTLBs. They've outsmarted the Russians. They've played this really good, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to talk more in a sort of after-action report afterwards. Mention a few thoughts that we had about the game and the playstyle.
Yep.
Very
we'll
limited
see if these
amount
4
of
remaining Russians are able to exploit the fact that the majority of U.S. forces are on the south. There are a couple U.S. here still watching 360 security. If he can eliminate this guy at the top of the stairs, that'll be pretty impressive.
He caught him off guard.
He got him.
Did you see him look away in the
Yeah,
moment?
the U.S. soldier looked away for a second, and that's all it takes. Oh, a grenade comes through the stairs.
That's gonna hit the...
Oh, if that'd come outside the door, that would have killed 2 of them, I think.
I
U.S.
think...
soldier getting up on the wall,
Ooh.
trying to peer over.
Sneaky.
Oh, and
Gonna
he's
drop
just gonna
1,
catch 2 of them.
2... Oh, grenade's
and
gonna knock out a 3rd.
Yep, that's unfortunate. There's 1 Russian left in the entire platoon. And yeah, we're gonna have to see here what they're gonna do.
Yeah, right now the U.S. could have left a few men on the northern side, but...
Oh, the entire U.S. platoon. Oh my god.
That's a firing squad. He brought 1 down with him, though. Good job.
He did get 1, so good on him. But yeah, that's GG. U.S. is gonna take this first round here at Operation Rook. Squad off GG, 1 life events.